We had an inkling that it would be busy. Brookside Gardens has been carrying out our Earth Day event for about 7 years, and if the weather is nice like it is today, we get a pretty good crowd. But since we partnered with all these other government agencies, we thought it might be a little bit busier than before. The visitors to Brookside Gardens span all ages, all ethnicities, all races, all languages. It's really great to see how this is a place for the community, and yet within that I can tell you that being on the staff here and seeing people every day, we have some people who come every morning and walk. We have stroller moms who come like between nap time during the day with their kids. We have working people who come after work, and we have a lot of families that come in the evening that walk from the apartments in the Glenmont area. So people are here from sunrise to sunset, and since we're free, it's someplace that they can come and enjoy on their own schedule. Brookside Gardens is part of Montgomery Parks, and other partners include Montgomery County DEP, DOT, WSSC. We have county police officers here and a number of other nonprofit organizations like One Montgomery Green, Poolsville Green, and Bethesda Green. So a lot of different people making this event a success. This year, one of the things I'm really excited about is the EV car show. I've wanted to have electric cars here for years, and we couldn't put it together. And that was one of the strengths of working with all these different partners, is Poolsville Green had connections to all these electric cars. So you can see them here at the gardens today. At Brookside Gardens, sustainability is important to us, and stewardship is a core value of Montgomery Parks. And at Brookside Gardens, we're particularly focused on what people can do in their own lives and landscapes to help have a lighter, greener footprint. So for example, the parking garden, which is just behind us, is a relatively new capital project that we completed in 2016. And we have permeable pavers in there, so the rainwater goes through the pavers. The pollutants are filtered out through various engineered soils, and when it's released downstream, the water is very clean. So we want to show people how plants can help mitigate the effect of human impact on the environment. Brookside Gardens has a wide range of educational programs for children and adults. For children, we offer curriculum-based school programs that are free of charge to public, private, and home schools in Montgomery County, because we feel like a fee shouldn't be a barrier for kids to learn about plants and gardening and get excited about doing that back home with their parents. We also have a wide variety of activities for adults, like photography classes, cooking classes, of course, landscape classes, so people can learn how to garden back at their own houses or patios. I feel very fortunate that I get to work at Brookside Gardens, and I have an amazing team of staff and volunteers. We couldn't do it without our volunteers, so I feel like this is the best place ever to work.
This is the first time they've moved the Greenfest to Brookside Gardens. It's usually closer to Takoma in Jessup Blair Park, but overall, since it's a county-wide event, this is more central and it's more accommodating. They're expecting 4,000 people today, which when you're talking about getting people focused on the environment and the climate crisis and the environmental issues that are so important, it's great to be in the biggest place possible and have the most people getting involved. Brookside Gardens is fantastic. You know, they get 600 volunteers and they need more. So it's such a great place to come and appreciate the environment and to reflect. It's actually used by a lot of therapists for healing, for veterans and at-risk kids and others. And if people haven't been to Brookside Gardens, they should definitely come here. You couldn't pick a better date than today when there's 90 vendors here telling you all the different things you can do to help the environment. So I'm really proud to be now chairing the Environment Committee, the Transportation and Environment Committee. I'm glad we have a bunch of electric buses that are starting on a route in Takoma Park to Silver Spring very soon, 14 on order. We have these big Ride-On Extra buses as well that are right behind me to focus on moving a lot more people and giving them a high quality transit experience to get them out of their cars and onto bus and onto Metro. We've been working with Metro we end the Silver Spring turnback. I don't know if you knew about this, but half the trains on the Red Line turn around at Silver Spring Station, and only the other half move on to Wheaton and Glenmont and Forest Glen. So we got Metro to end that, and so that means twice as much transit service to all the people on the east side of the county, which is terrific. We got climate catastrophe looming. We have a big problem with stormwater and the threats to the bay, and we have a big problem with solid waste. So those are really the three issues we're focusing on in our committee. There's way too many toxics, no question, in our food, in our consumer products, and in our overall environment. And that's a huge impact on our health and our life expectancy and many other things, and we need to address that. And that's a very big national issue, but there's things we can do locally. Plastics, there's no question. I was really glad to see the General Assembly just ban styrofoam. We had banned styrofoam packaging in Montgomery County years ago. Now the General Assembly, in this last session this spring, followed our lead and became the first state in the country to ban styrofoam packaging. So people should know if they see a restaurant that is still serving styrofoam carry-out containers, they can confidentially, they can talk to them privately, obviously, and they can also call DEP if they feel awkward doing that. They don't have to give their name or anything, and just let our staff know that there's a restaurant, and then we're happy to send county staff out to educate them about the alternatives, because we don't want any more styrofoam in the environment or other types of plastic as well. Our recycling rate's been growing, but not quickly enough. We really want, I know the county executive too really wants to end our incinerator, but we're a long way from that because of so many thousands of pounds of trash we send there every single year. So people need to know to reduce what they're using and to recycle everything they possibly can. We're going to continue to focus at the county level to make sure they can recycle every possible thing that's out there.
Well, we've been working together with the Parks Department for many years, and it's always a lot of work, but it's always worth it. There's nothing more rewarding than getting people together from different backgrounds, whether it's racial, whether it's geographic or age. People are coming here, we're mixing, we're excited about saving our environment. Well, overall, we're going in the right direction on every environmental issue, whether it's air or water or solid waste and recycling, but there's always more to do. And what's great about this event is people come together and they see all sorts of people that are also concerned about the same thing. So we're energized here, we have more ideas, and we know we're part of a big community, even though in our everyday lives we may not think of it that way. There's so many things that we have to do. I'd like to see us have more renewable energy installations here in the community. Part of what's important here is education, because what's great about the environment is that everybody can do something to make the environment a better place. So I'd like to see more people recycling, more people choosing clean energy on their energy bill instead of dirty energy, and also making sustainable choices at the supermarket or at the store. So these are all things that we're doing, are going in the right direction, but more and more people, more and more education, and more improvement. That's what we have to do. It's important that we work really closely with the schools, because what we're finding is that young people end up teaching their parents how to recycle properly, how to conserve energy. So we spend a lot of time working with our students and every partner we can. So we also work with the college, we also work with the business community and nonprofits. This is our environment, it's everybody's environment, so it's all hands on deck.
been great to move and to coordinate with Brookside Gardens Earth Day Festival because there is an opportunity to reach a broader audience, and that's the goal of Greenfest, is to reach as many people in the county as possible. Takoma Park is now updating its sustainability plan, so we have implemented almost all of the 2014 Sustainable Energy Plan, and we're now developing the next phase of climate and energy efficiency plans for the city. Really excited about that process.
Electric cars have really improved in the last few years. The major improvements have been range and reliability. The newer products are much more reliable, and the range is by far better than what they used to be. The newer electric model vehicles can go as far as 230, 240 miles compared to some of the earlier ones where they were only getting about 80 to 100 miles. Well, the benefits of an electric car, definitely environmental benefits are a plus. Also, maintenance. It's a lot less maintenance on an electric car than your traditional gasoline modeled car. You have very few fluids, so you don't have things like engine oil to maintain, transmission oil. You only have coolant, brake fluid, and window washer fluid. The warranties are typically very good on the components you're usually looking at on your electrical components. 7 years, 100,000 mile warranties are usually the standard. And also your operating costs tend to go down. So traditionally, depending on when you charge your vehicle, the cost to charge your vehicle is traditionally less than the cost of fueling it with petrol fuel. The price stability is a lot better. Whereas gas, your traditional petroleum-based fuel is very subject to not only market demand, but also geopolitical influences tend to affect the cost of the commodity. Electricity is still pretty constant when you start talking about the overall cost for electricity. So now the downside is you have very specific ranges and charging dynamics associated with it. So you will get a vehicle that your range tends to become your selection driver. So you need to match your driving habits with the range of the vehicle. It's true you get some convenience of being able to charge at home. So if you're fortunate to have a place where you can plug in at home, you could actually take refueling out of your schedule because you just hook it up at home. But the downside is that if you don't, like say if you live in a multi-family dwelling, you may not have electric infrastructure there for you to be able to use for charging. So a lot of charging stations around the country and throughout Montgomery County and the state of Maryland. There's a couple different charging projects that are currently underway. There's been grant funding for this through the state to put in additional electric charging that's both for individual government fleets, but as well for the public to use. There's also softwares now that software and apps that you can log onto on your phone that'll tell you where all the electric charging is in the area and whether or not it's in use. So you can actually coordinate your trips associated, in conjunction with the availability of charging. Our job is to match the job that's being performed by the operator of the vehicle with the appropriate vehicle. In the case of administrative vehicle where you're driving back and forth to office spaces, then electrical is a great candidate. We also look for electric vehicles for our facility fleet because they go from a county location, a county building to another county building. So easy for us to also put charging in to be able to match that. Now some of the limitations are manufacturer offerings. So unfortunately, so when you start looking around, you'll see different manufacturers in the car segment. There's a lot of different there's a lot of providers that's providing a lot of equipment. But in the work truck segment, there's not a lot of folks that provide electric vehicles in the work truck segment. So one of our goals is to incentivize some of those companies to begin offering offerings in that segment, because we think that that's a very attractive place for us, because we think that our duty cycles match it very well. Improvements that we foresee in the electric vehicle market space is definitely battery technology. As the battery technology improves, also goes the range, and we believe that those improvements are going to continue to happen. And as the range improves, then it makes it very, very, very easy to fit it into different applications. Also, I think that the size of the battery is going to improve, and that's going to help. So in the work truck segment, one of the issues is that for every pound of battery that you add, you displace cargo capacity and payload. So I believe that weight is going to be one of the other areas where you're going to see improvement. That's really going to help with the implementation of electric vehicles.
Sweep the Creek 2 weeks ago. It was fantastic. We had over 400 people turn out from the community up and down the creek picking up trash. We ended up with almost 600 bags of trash. We had about 100 bags of recycling. We had a lot of youth groups come out. It was fantastic. The amount of trash is the same or even worse. We picked up more trash this spring than we did in the fall, so there's more trash. And I think some of it is also related to the amount of rain that we're having, pushing trash into the creek, so that's a real issue. What we find in the creek, single-use plastics is definitely an issue for pollution in our creek. We see a lot of those water bottles, so people may be exercising, they want to be healthy, right? They drink their water and then something happens. So yes, we see quite a lot of that in the creek when we pick it up.
The creek has a lot of impacts. It's an urban stream, so it has a lot of pollution it has to deal with. We've been monitoring for about 7 or 8 years now, mostly monthly when we can. We're all volunteers, so we get out when we can do it. It's mostly holding steady, is what I would have to say. Doesn't seem like there's a big decline, but we could definitely use some improvement, particularly in the area of coliform. A lot of salt gets in, particularly from road salting in the winter. And a lot of surfactants, which are detergents. So people washing their cars in the street, that sort of thing, goes right into the creek. So that's what we need to work on. It's a heavily impacted stream, which means it's not what it could be. It has a difficult time because it's such an urban area. So there's a lot of pollutants coming in off of roads, off of parking lots, off of people's roofs, all sorts of things. They all end up in the creek. And so there are animals, there are crayfish, there are some fish that are resident, which is great. So we're making some progress, certainly from the 90s, much better than it was, but we have a long way to go. For birds, we see a lot of great blue herons. They're pretty typical. A lot of ducks. I've seen wood ducks, mallard ducks are always down in there. Occasionally a red-tailed hawk.
Yeah.
Blue jays, cardinals, which you would expect.
Yeah, on the East Coast, yeah.
And night herons, actually.
Our kind of mascot is yellow-crested night heron, which is a small heron, and they should be coming back. They should be building their nests like now. So, we'll be looking for them. Well, we had about the tree canopy, we had a big issue about last year, right? When we lost everybody in this area. You see a lot of trees that died off last year. That was from the
Emerald
ash borer. Thank you, Pat. That's an invasive species that attacked all the ash trees, and so that was a big loss. And you can see that the parks went in and took down the trees along the paths to protect people. So that was pretty devastating. And they are replanting trees, but events that people can participate with the Friends of Sligo Creek. We would love you to get involved with us. We are weed warriors, and we go take out the invasive plants. Right now we're focusing on garlic mustard, so we have pulls every once a month on Saturday. We just had one yesterday. The best thing to do would be go to our website. Go to www.fosc.org, and we have a calendar there with all of our activities. We also have programs in the evening so that you can come and learn about different things about that you might be interested in, about the creek. We had a talk about natural mosquito reduction method at the Silver Spring Civic Center just the other night. We have a lot of things.
Yeah, and we have walks as well. So there's a bicycle ride that I led last fall with an expert. He knows every champion tree in the county. So we ride all around seeing the largest trees of each species in the county.
Right.
So there are all sorts of walks and programs like that as well.
One becomes a member or a friend of Sligo Creek is extremely easy. Just go to our website and basically fill out. We have a form on the front page. It doesn't cost anything. Give us your name and information. We'll get you on the list to get our monthly newsletter. You can get on our listserv, and voila, you are a friend of Sligo Creek. Of course, we are a 501c3 and we all volunteer, so we rely on donations to keep going. So we would love it for you to get involved, get to know us. Maybe you want to get involved in one of our committees. We're a very friendly group, all volunteer. We would love any way, shape, or form you'd like to be involved.
Young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes ah. When she walks, she's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gentle that
there are a lot of problems that honeybees are facing these days. Most of them kind of boil down to three different problems. You've got poor nutrition from a lot of developments, taking away habitats and flowers for them. And there's a lot of pesticides, especially in more agricultural areas, and those pesticides, especially neonicotinoid pesticides, can be really harmful to honeybees. And then the third one is pests and pathogens, namely the Varroa destructor mite, which is a mite that came from Asia and was found in honeybee colonies here in the 80s, and since then it's been kind of ravaging a lot of the beekeeping industry. But there's a lot of research going into figuring out how to stop, especially that Varroa mite, because that's kind of the worst problem, in my opinion, that's been going on. But we're taking steps towards figuring out how we can manage it. In the United States, it's a pretty widespread problem of just beekeepers trying to keep their honeybee colonies alive, and it's especially that Varroa mite that really ends up being a problem. A lot of commercial beekeepers, they have, if you're on a commercial scale with thousands and thousands of colonies, your treatment methods are a bit different than if you're a hobbyist beekeeper with 4 in your backyard. So there's a lot of disparity there between success rates and survival rates. But yeah, it's a problem for each sector of the industry, but there's a lot of research going into it. One way you can help is by planting a lot of native wildflowers, because those native wildflowers, first of all, they're good for the environment because they're native. And then second, those will provide some forage for honeybees. And there are lots of lists you can find and books you can read for what are the best wildflowers to plant for honeybees in Maryland. And that's definitely one way you can help. Also, try not to cut all your dandelions and clovers. I know everyone always wants to have that perfect green lawn, but that's a desert for pollinators. So, and honeybees love dandelions and clovers. So if you keep those around, they will be a lot happier. Beekeeping it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. The best way would be to get in touch with a local association, such as the Montgomery County Association, to kind of get an idea of what you're getting yourself into.
working on the Legacy project for 2 years now. It started off as a research and dance project where I saved my family's trash. I'm a mom and I have 2 kids. So family of 4, we were saving our trash for about a year. And the first time we performed this at last year's Greenfest, we turned all the trash into sets and costumes. So anything from newspapers to plastic bags to aluminum cans, we used it all. This year, as part of the project, we expanded to focus mostly on our plastic waste. So if you look around the gardens, you can see all of these plastic bottles. Something that was really interesting to me was the fact that plastic lasts for so long. So if you think about dance, it's the most ephemeral art form. It's time-based and it is fleeting before your eyes. And plastic is one of the hardiest long-term substances, so I liked that juxtaposition of the ephemeral and the permanent. Moms are generally sort of the multitaskers and the directors of the household, so I was really noticing, oh my gosh, we're a family of 4, and this is just our trash. If every family is producing this much trash, that is not a good sign. This year we expanded it. It has 3 different avenues. So we did the installation, which was up here at Brookside Gardens for 1 month. We have 3 locations at Brookside Gardens. The perennial garden, which we're in right now, and we're calling this Plastic Everywhere. And this is trying to show that no matter where plastic is, it will end up usually in the water as a last result, which is not great. We also have an installation up at the wedding gazebo up the hill and down in the conservatory. And each of these has different themes around plastic and permanency. So again, this idea of a legacy. What legacy are we leaving behind for our children, for our children's children? And Marie Antoinette came up as a central figure, as a metaphor. A lot of us know her story. She had sort of a tragic end to her life. And are we going to face that same tragedy? We perform in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland. We sometimes hold auditions for projects. Also, if you're a professional dancer in the community, you can find us at Dance Place, Dance Exchange, Joy of Motion. We're kind of throughout the community.